Man, has it been an interesting 2 years. Assassin's Creed Valhalla's The Last Chapter dropped last Tuesday after it was accidentally released a week early. How does that even happen, Ubisoft? Did someone just set the wrong date and nobody noticed? Or maybe they did it intentionally? Who knows? Ubisoft can be weird sometimes. Anyways, scheduling errors aside, The Last Chapter is the final update for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, ending its unusually long support. Most importantly though, finally! We finally have the option to have our hoods always on, after they've been talking about adding it into the game for like over a year now, and it gets added in the final update for the game. I've never seen such a small feature take so long to get added to a game, but apparently they weren't sure about making it a feature because the hood coming down is supposed to serve as a visual indicator for you being spotted, but I never really understood that because there's a detection meter, cloak, and sound effect, not to mention Eivor pulls out his melee weapon, but whatever. What matters is we finally got it, and that's probably my favorite part about this update, I'm not even kidding. So at least if we can't be an assassin, we can sort of look the part. Now I know I haven't been very positive when talking about this game, especially for the post-launch content, but I was still vaguely curious how Eivor's story would come to a close, and it's free of course, so I thought I'd give it a try. That, and there's also another free quest that teases AC Mirage a little bit, so fair warning here if you don't want the last chapter, or the ravens and the cuckoo, yes, that's the name, spoiled. If you don't want those spoiled, then click off and come back once you've finished if you like, because I will be going over full spoilers for both. So first things first, I want to talk about the raven and the cuckoo. I feel really weird saying that, but I gotta say I actually quite liked this quest, mainly because it's one of the most assassin feeling quests I've ever played in Valhalla, and it features Roshan, who's going to be a main character and Basim's mentor in Assassin's Creed Mirage. The quest starts with Eivor interrogating the Saxon that tried to invade Ravensthorpe. Once he coughs up his companion's location like a chicken bone, you head over to this washed up longship in Grantebridgeshire, where you discover these Saxon men are trying to disguise themselves as part of the Raven clan and raid various settlements. That's when you run into Roshan, who uses the red smoke bomb we saw in the AC Mirage cinematic trailer, and is going to be an available tool in the game as she assassinates the men with her hidden blade. Kind of cool, but I wish they would have done motion capture for this stuff. It just looks really awkward and robotic. But anyways, Eivor and Roshan decide to team up as Eivor wishes to assassinate the Earl Edward, who wishes to destroy the Raven clan, and Roshan wants to take out his boss Alcila. And the best part about this mission is it's a black box assassination. You don the Raven clan disguise, infiltrate the stronghold, as you blend in by doing tasks and using the social stealth features, which again made me actually feel like an assassin. You then have to execute a plan to assassinate the Earl in the open to scare off his minions, and bring Alcila out of hiding so Roshan can assassinate her. It's a short black box assassination, but I enjoyed it. It felt more like Assassin's Creed than all the other missions in this game, and they actually force you to use the social stealth. Just parkouring around or running past enemies isn't going to work, since the walls around the entrance aren't climbable. Again, I wish they mocapped the assassination cutscenes because they looked really awkward and robotic, but overall I was very satisfied with this mission. And if I'm not mistaken, Roshan at the end of the quest shows she stole some kind of plans or designs which she calls the future, a seed to plant in Jerusalem, which again, if I'm not mistaken, I believe is referring to the apple inside Solomon's temple in Jerusalem, which basically kicks off this whole series from the start of AC1, which is a really cool reference. I was pleasantly surprised by this quest. It's brief but a lot of fun, and it was certainly designed this way to tease Assassin's Creed Mirage, which is why there was a black box assassination and a heavy focus on assassin elements and mechanics. If you're someone who dislikes Valhalla but prefers traditional AC and are excited for Mirage, then I recommend you try this quest out. Not to mention you even get some really cool black and red assassin robes for doing it, which immediately became one of my favorite outfits in the game since I can actually look like an assassin. That paired with the hood always on feature, and I'm finally starting to feel like an assassin again. Then of course there is was the last chapter, which was a lot shorter than I was expecting. It's also all cutscenes, there's no actual gameplay to the last chapter, which may disappoint some people. The last chapter starts with Eivor looking upon Ravensthorpe and having a conversation with Odin, except Odin is in the form of male Eivor, and if you chose male Eivor, then Eivor becomes female Eivor, so I suppose that's the confirmation that female Eivor is the canon version of the character, which I don't really like, to be honest. I think most people prefer male Eivor and his voice for the character, including me, so it's kind of annoying that the better version of the character isn't even the actual Eivor. It's also a weird effect to have my Eivor be Odin, while there's just this default female Eivor as the actual Eivor. It's just weird, I'm not sure why they did it like this. Also, why is Odin appearing as male Eivor in this situation anyway? He looks completely different in the main story, so why didn't they bring back that version of Odin? So for those of us that played as male Eivor, don't have our character play the role as Odin, while randomly all of a sudden having a female Eivor that we have not seen the entire game appear as a character. It's just really bizarre. But a big chunk of the last chapter skips through the years as Eivor says goodbye to their friends and allies from the main story, as it's all being observed by Basm, who's curious how his old friend's story ends. I was happy to see Basm, he's my favorite character from the main game, and seeing a little continuation of the ending of that modern day storyline was nice. He also talks a little bit about his struggle with Loki and how it was completely different from Eivor's situation with Odin, but it seems that Basm has gotten rid of Loki, and I think he kind of teases that we're going to see a little bit of that struggle with the God of Mischief in Mirage. Although the art director for Mirage said it's not going to focus too much on Loki and Norse mythology, so I don't expect we'll see too much of that. Once again, Basm sort of stole the show for me in the last chapter. I found the continuation of his story and his character a lot more intriguing than Eivor's conclusion, where not really a ton happened. We even get to see William Miles interact with Basm through the Animus, which I was not expecting. His character model in this game looks really strange to me as well, but Basm and William Miles agree to work together. However, William wants something from Basm. Now, we don't actually get to see what exactly he wants, but if I had to guess, it's gotta be something to do with Desmond. Why else would they keep it all secretive like that? We then later see Basm take a sample of his own blood and start genetic memory extraction, which I believe is what's going to set up AC Mirage and how we're going to see Basm's younger memories. We may even be entering the Animus as William Miles, which sounds very interesting. I'm genuinely curious where they're going to be taking the modern day in the future, with William, Basm, Layla, and Desmond. But anyways, back to the Viking. After Eivor says goodbye to his friends, family, and allies, he sails for North America with Odin, deciding to kind of embrace his second Huger, as he puts it, and try to learn from the All-Father and discover himself. Or sorry, herself, since female Eivor is canon. The last chapter ends at the site of Eivor's remains in North America, where Basm currently is with the Animus. Eivor and Odin speak about Ragnarok, where Odin reveals it was a solar flare that caused Ragnarok and destroyed the Aesir gods, which is really interesting. A solar flare happened during the Great Catastrophe that would eventually make the Izu go extinct, and evidently also caused Ragnarok in the Assassin's Creed timeline. It almost happened again in 2012, but that's what Desmond gave his life to stop, of course. The last chapter then ends with a long pan out to Valhalla's rendition of Ezio's family, which they really love to keep reusing. Also, one more thing of note that I believe is connected to AC Mirage: when Basm starts the genetic memory extraction of his blood, the computer says it'll take 29 days, 3 hours, and 4 minutes, which is really specific, and it wasn't really necessary to include a line like that, so it sort of makes me think we'll get some sort of news or trailer related to Mirage in 29 days. It actually makes a lot of sense. I saw some people saying this could be a countdown to the Assassin's Creed Mirage release, which makes no sense at all. They already confirmed the game is coming out in 2023, and we haven't even seen gameplay or any marketing aside from the cinematic trailer. They wouldn't just surprise release the game, that wouldn't make any sense. However, I do think there's a very good chance this could be a countdown to our first look at gameplay for Mirage. We of course haven't seen any yet, yet, and you'd figured we'd have to see some gameplay real soon if the game is coming out in the first half of 2023, so I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. But the real question is it 29 days from December 1st when the last chapter accidentally released? Or is it 29 days from December 6th, the planned release date? If it was from the 1st, it would be December 30th. If it's from the 6th, it would be around January 4th. I think the latter is more likely, especially if they made this cutscene thinking it wouldn't be seen by players until the 6th. Overall though, the last chapter was very short. In total, it took about 30-ish minutes for me to complete, and a lot of that was spent in loading screens and just traveling to each quest location since they're so far from each other. Again, there's also no gameplay involved, it's all story. I thought it was decent. I know Darby McDevitt came back to write this, who's one of the few people left in the studio from the Ezio days, and he's definitely one of the best writers Ubisoft has. It tied up some loose ends with Eivor and set up some interesting stuff with the modern day and Mirage, which was definitely the best part of the last chapter for me. It is free, so I really wasn't expecting it to be too lengthy, but I could see how this could be underwhelming for some people. But that's it, the end for Assassin's Creed Valhalla. It had a longer lifespan than most games in this series, especially with the live service format they applied to it. Again, if you've seen some of my other videos, you know how I feel about this game, but I found the last chapter and Roshan quest pretty enjoyable, which I couldn't really say about a lot of the other post-launch content we've gotten over these past 2 years. But if you're someone who really likes AC Valhalla, then I'm sure you'll want to check this out if you haven't already, or maybe you're someone who doesn't and just wanted to watch this video to get an understanding of what happens in the last chapter. As this is the final update, I probably won't make any videos on this game for a while until I finally go back and replay the whole thing for an updated review, which is likely quite a long ways away since I still have to go through Syndicate and Origins first. I'm also not really ready for another 100 hours of this game, so for the sake of my sanity, it's gonna take some time before I get around to it. Wish me luck. But if you played Valhalla's The Last Chapter or Shared History Mission with Roshan, let me know your thoughts on it down in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate it if you considered leaving a like on the video and subscribing to the channel if you're new. Huge thank you to my members whose names are on screen. I really appreciate the support. And if you're interested in joining, the link to join will be in the description. Other than that, thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day, Assassins.